My senior year of high school, I worked for Firestone Tire and Rubber in Akron in the mailroom. That was the kind of job to introduce some of the teenagers, introduce them to the workings of the company. So I'm working in the mailroom. This one time I was coming in with a friend, and we went in through the factory entrance door, and we were stopped by a guard. I told them we work there. He said, "You look too young to work." And I said, "Well, thank you." I'm old enough to work here. But then, you know, that was a very nice compliment. I don't look old enough. He let us in.
Okay.
I remember maybe hearing my mom get so many compliments. You know, she looked so much younger than her. I was like, "Oh, thank you." I wanted to make a big deal out of it. For him, you know, to make him think I was really a lot older than I was. Okay, the other story you want me to tell you about, Dana.
I guess how you did it.
And how I did it?
Yeah.
Well, actually, there's some secrets involved in that. No, it's not illegal, but if it was known to as exactly how I would find her, people might find ways to tighten up the systems. I had a miscarriage December of 82 or 83. That was in December of 70 or in 82. I went into a depression. My emotions were tied to the loss of the baby before, and turned her over to an agency to find parents for her, signed away my rights. It was something I had to do, I felt, because I wasn't going to shame my parents by bringing an illegitimate child into the family and back home. They did not make me do anything. They did not. They assisted me in finding an answer. But Dad and Mom both emphasized that it was my decision to make whether I was going to keep the baby or not. And I would have time to make my mind up at the Crittenden home in Toledo. Okay, so I'm recognizing that I'm finally grieving as much for that baby that I just lost, the one that I lost 20 years, almost 20 years before. So how am I going to deal with this? I went to the library and I got, as I usually do when I have a question, tried to find the category of books I should look at, and loss was one. So I got books on losses and things like that. Came home, read them, and at the same time the TV would be on once in a while. I learned on one of these talk programs about a group called Concerned United Birth Parents, helping women who were suffering the loss of the baby from long ago, and that sounded ideal for me. And I thought, how am I going to come out of the closet, so to speak, in order to go? Well, it's a private group, and they meet at the room of the library, so I went. And your dad was very supportive of that, of me going. I took a box of tissues because I was sure that I was going to be very cheerful. Well, I get there and everyone introduces themselves, and obviously some of the people have been coming for some time. And I didn't cry. One of the people was telling her story, and it was obvious that she was, so the tissue box got sent over to her, and I never needed it. But it was freeing to be able to talk about the loss. So after going to the meetings for 3 months, the leader of the group took me aside and gave me a sheet of paper. She thought I was ready for this. And I read it over, and it gave some clues as to ways to ferret out information that would lead me to find my daughter. I already had quite a bit of interest in genealogy, so some of the skills in genealogy, searching out your family members and things of that sort. Okay, it was all very useful. I entered into the search in, let's see, that would have been May or June of 1983. I collected the names of baby girls who'd been adopted in Lucas County over a period of almost a year. And I was writing them diligently down on a sheet of paper, the girls that were adopted through the agency that I was involved with. Babies have to be in the adoptive home for 6 months before they can petition to adopt. Once they, the baby is not adopted until after the petition. The petition is filed in the court. She was born in February, so I started in August. Then I thought, I was out of the book, so I went to the next book. I thought I might as well get just a few more. I got to December, and I came across this one name that could be a boy or a girl. And I almost skipped over it. Dana. That's probably a boy, but I might as well have one extra. I'm in doubt, put it down. Then I did my work on finding out about these 42 females. And the one I found the most about, and I looked at a picture of her in a yearbook, in the Toledo area. She could possibly have been my daughter. So I sent for her birth certificate, and she was born in March. So that was out. Okay. So then I thought, well, okay, now I'll send for the one I have the least amount of information on. And that was Dana. I had no clue, because she wasn't, she was in the home in Perrysburg in 1964, and then 1965, the family's just gone, So I sent for that one. And birth certificate came back. And it had the right date, the right weight, all that stuff. So I knew I had her.
So the birth certificate didn't say your name?
Didn't say her original name, no. So it had her name on it, but her adopted name.
Why? Who decided what her name would be?
The parents that adopted
But they couldn't adopt her until 6 months later?
They would give her a name, obviously, when they took her into their home. But that wouldn't
So
be
they
her
took her
legal name.
in. They took her in right when she was born.
No, not right when. Because at day 17, I was holding her.
Oh, you had her for 17 days?
I didn't have her. I refused to sign the papers. Talking to my social worker, I wanted to hold her one more time. I'd held her every day in the hospital.
For how many days?
5 days in the hospital. So it's at day 17, I was almost ready to go home to Akron. But I said I was not going to sign the papers till I would be able to hold her one more time. And she was in a foster home at that point, waiting placement. And they couldn't place her until I signed her, released her. The social worker took me to the home, and there was a little room off the dining room and a little couch. And they brought the crib to me, or little something, I can't remember the word for it. Anyway, and they got to hold her, and they just visited in the kitchen, she and the social worker. And I finally decided that I was ready to, I couldn't take her home with me, and I didn't have any other options that I could really honestly be able to keep a full-time job and take care of baby, illegitimate baby, and it would also, anyway, reduce my options for marriage. I signed. Well, I let her take me back to the office, and I signed. And then the next day I left, packed up, and went back to Akron. Okay, so that's that. So now back to finding her again, 20 years later. I had a girlfriend call the employer of the father, adoptive father, where he was employed in 1963, and find out where he was now. And he had just been, he'd been transferred. He hadn't quit, but he had been transferred to another city, and she found, you know, they told her what city he had been transferred to. They even gave, they even gave the phone number. I got that information from my friend. He sucked it up, and I picked up the phone, and I called, and I said, hello, is Dana there? And she said, well, this is she. I said, oh. Well, I'm thinking, I know she's alive. One big question I had, is she still alive? Because every time I'd, you know, especially when we moved to Toledo, I thought every time I picked up the paper and a child of the age that she would be was killed in an accident or whatever, I thought that could be her, but how would I know? How would I ever know? It always upset me. So, I know she's alive. So I could hang up right then. I know she's alive. I know where she is. But no, I didn't. I said, my name is, I told her my name, and I said, I have reason to believe that I am your birth mother.
Did she know she was adopted?
Yeah.
How did you, but you didn't know if she knew?
Well, okay, the social workers all were emphasizing the importance of not keeping it a secret from the adoptee. There were a lot of reasons that people would keep it a secret, but it's not a good idea because eventually the truth comes out, and then the child turns against the adoptive parents, saying, you've lied to me all these years, or you weren't truthful. Why didn't you ever tell me? All right? So it's a trust. It destroys trust if you don't be honest about these things. So she said, well, really? Can I ask you a question? I said, sure, ask me anything you want. What was my name? What was the name you gave me? And I told her, I said, Tracy Lynn Byers. She said, that's right.
Whoa.
Yes. And I said, oh, you knew that. She says, well, yeah. She said her parents, her mother didn't want to know that when they went to the lawyer, but the lawyer let it slip when the adoption was final. You know, they were congratulated. They were being congratulated and all this stuff, and he somehow let the name slip. So she always knew it. And when Dana was about, I think she said she was about 16, she asked, and she was told what her original name was. And then she wanted to know if I had any birthmarks, you know, or if I, you know.
She really wanted proof.
She wanted, no, at that point, that was proof. But she just wanted to know everything about me. And what I could have hung up at the beginning, but it went on for about an hour or more of her asking all these questions: how tall I am, how skinny I am, what color my hair is, if I have any birthmarks, I mean, she just, and every time I would give her an answer, she would tell me what her, the hair color was, or birthmarks, and all this stuff. So we're comparing notes, and your dad came home, and I was still on the phone, and then he got a beeper, and I said, I have to, we only had, back in those days, you only had one phone, so I had to let him have the phone. And she said, just a minute, one more thing. And I let her, and I told her one more thing, and then I said, I promise you, I'll call you back tomorrow. We can talk some more. But I have to let my husband have the phone now. I said, okay. And we hung up.
Did you give her your number?
I don't remember doing that, no. So I called her the next day and we talked some more. So then eventually, that was November. We kept in touch periodically. Oh, I know. She wanted a letter with, all kinds of stuff. So I sent her that, and then she was going to send me a letter. And she took forever and ever. And so finally I called her boyfriend, which I called him just to find out what was going on, because she hadn't answered my letter yet. And he said, well, I know she's working on it. Turned out she just couldn't get it perfect. She's perfectionist. She finally did it, and I finally got this package in the mail. Letters and pictures and all sorts of things. It was well worth the wait. Then in November, I found out I was pregnant. Did figure out she was born on August 1st. It must have been November. So she was, let's see. We still hadn't gotten together to meet. And so her adoptive mother we kept finding excuses why, one weekend or this was never a good weekend.
How old was Dana? 19, I thought?
She was 20. She turned 20 in February of '83. But she was still living at home. So she kept, her adoptive mom kept finding reasons why. But they insisted that I had to come there before they would allow her to come visit me.
In case of kidnapping or something?
That would be a silly reason, No, just they wanted to meet me first. I mean, with her, but finally she said she put her foot down and went over and marked a weekend in February and said her mother was not allowed to put anything more on that calendar because I'm coming. So by that time, I was showing quite a bit, and it was a little awkward, and it was high-risk pregnancy. So the doctor said he didn't want me driving all the way, but he didn't really want me flying. So we compromised, and I drove as far as Fort Wayne, and then I flew to Indianapolis, or vice versa. But anyway, yeah, because
she was in Indianapolis?
Yeah, she was living in the Indianapolis area.
So,
he must have.
May
Anyway, we did get together.
What was that?
First birthday. In February of 1984. And I went alone and met everybody. I met Dana, I met her boyfriend Ken, met her parents, we went out to eat. And
what was it like seeing her?
It was a little, well, it was a relief. I mean, I'd seen pictures by that time. It was a little scary because I didn't, it was uncharted territory. I knew that we were, she knew who I was, I knew who she was, that kind of thing, but the family all involved too. That's right. They put me up in her bedroom, I think. Or did I stay at a hotel? I seem to recall a lot about her room. I wish I'd written more of this down back then. Anyway, no, I stayed in a hotel, yeah. And so, Well, she wanted to show me all around Indianapolis and Carmel, and you know, this was after the dinner with the parents, and we'd had supper the night before, and you know, in their home. It went pretty well, but it was very nervous for me. And she might have been nervous too. Anyhow, then the next time we got together was in about June, and she came to the farm and stayed with us. And I was very, very much pregnant, and was having to sit a lot. Couldn't do a whole lot and go a lot of places. So anyway, we had a good time. She enjoyed playing. You've seen pictures of her in the barn with kittens and things. No, you've not seen those pictures? Okay, find them for you. She just loved, you know, Deidre and Cece were just doting on her, and just so excited. Deidre didn't have any, you know, she was only 3 years old, so it was just, didn't quite, you know, didn't understand any of it. But Cecilia was mixed up by it. She thought, am I going to be adopted? You know, she couldn't figure this out. She was what, about 6, 7, 6. Anyway, so they had a lot of fun. Lena and Bridget were a lot more on her wavelength, and obviously, I just sort of stayed out of it and let her, the kids, you know, get acquainted. So then, the next time she came was right after you were born. And in fact, was she there? It just seems like she was right there when you were born, but it may have been the day after. She wanted to be involved in the choice of name.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We knew it was going to be an E. Oh, I mean, she was very much eager to participate in that. And when she then got to hold you, you know, you see the picture of her holding you. You've seen that.
Mm-hmm.
She's sitting on the couch in the newly remodeled living room, but paint still hadn't been painted. You know, the wall hadn't been painted yet. Anyway, yeah. She just really related to you.
Hmm.
She was excited to be holding you. So, anyway, that's, you know, basically, oh, and then at Christmas time, well, that year we got it together a lot. As I said, I visited her in February on her birthday, and then she came in June or somewhere around that time. She came again in August, and in December we all went to Florida for Christmas, and she and Ken came too. You were 5 months old, and we had a, oh my gosh, it was a cheap hotel or motel, and it was, oh my word, went to Disney World.
Oh, is that when Bridget thought no?
What?
I don't know, just, like, why did Dad give her the hardest time?
Oh, let's see. All right, well, let me see. The thing about, let me finish that story about Dana. We all went to Disney World one day, and you were in a stroller, Deidre was in a stroller, and Lena, Bridget, and Cecilia and Dana were not, obviously. And we were having a hard time staying together. Cece got lost a couple of times. It was really a pain to find her. She was at that age where, oh my goodness, she could disappear in a heartbeat. And okay, so that was really, really stressful regarding losing kids, keeping track. And at the end, we were, after the fireworks and all that, we went to turn in the strollers, and then I was carrying you, and Dana or somebody was holding on to Deidre's hand, and we were going up the ramp toward the exit. You're shoulder to shoulder up this wide ramp. Everybody's exiting. And I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4. What? And I realized somebody was missing, and I figured it out. It was Cecilia. And I turned, and Ken, it had his fill of this kind of problem with Cecilia all day. He said, "Oh no," it was just. And I said, "I got to go back." And
wait, Ken Wolf?
No, not Ken Wolf.
Oh, Ken, Dana's boyfriend.
Dana's boyfriend, yeah. And so I had to fight my way through the crowd that was coming up the ramp. I was going down. And the only thing I could think of was the last time I'd seen her, we were in the stroller return area. And so I went back there, and she was sitting up on the counter, and, somebody was keeping her entertained. And I was just so relieved. I thought, oh my goodness gracious. So we finally got out of there. The next day we were going to go to that was Fantasyland the first day. The second day we were going to go back to Epcot Center, which is a whole different area. Ken said he was not going again. So he stayed behind the whole day. And all the rest of us went. And Dana decided she was going to push Deidre in the stroller. And I had the stroller with you. And charged Helena, I guess, with trying to keep tabs on Cecilia, keeping her under control. And we managed okay until one point I couldn't find Dana and Deidre. And we went all over the place looking for them. Finally, there was a lost and found, or a place you could go to if you were missing people. And I went there, and she wasn't there. But I had your dad had the idea of calling Ken, because Ken might have gotten word from Dana. And sure enough, Ken had just talked to Dana, and she was coming to this place where we were, and we all got reunited. But boy, oh boy, I never ever wanted to go back to Epcot Center again. But I did with Al. It was just two of us, I guess. Anyhow, so that was the end of that story. Well, now you want to know about Alina. What about Alina?